UFC 315 just recently wrapped up, and I am going to recap the entire card. In the main event, Della Maddalena pulls off the upset over Belal Muhammad and becomes the new champion. And I think this is way better for the sport. We'll go in details as I break that fight down. And then also in the co-main event, you had Valentina Shevchenko win a competitive and close back and forth fight against dangerous up-and-comer Manon Fiorot, or I guess top contender, you could really say, because she had earned her place. So good title defense with, I think, super fights looming for both the main event and co-main event winner. I'm looking forward to talk about everything, but first things first, first fight of the night. Also, make sure you guys hit the likes if you just tuned in and haven't hit them yet, and subscribe if you're new. Brad Katona, Bekzat Almakhan. Bekzat made easy work of Brad Katona, perfectly placed uppercut. Fight is done for. Now, I want to talk about what I think Bekzat could do in this game, because he's in his 20s and knocking out Brad Katona is something nobody has done before. And even if Katona is not necessarily a high level guy, you have a, two-time Ultimate Fighter winner, a veteran of the game that has like a relatively good skill set. And I'd say he's a difficult gatekeeper. To go out there and beat Brad Katona in any fashion, impressive. But to knock him out makes me think, Bekzat Almakhan really has the juice behind him. He's still young right now at 27. And when I say juice, I'm not saying he's taking steroids, but I think he's got a lot of promise. I mean, he's got a good frame for the weight class, 5'7", 68-inch reach, pretty damn quick, pretty damn accurate, and knocking out a guy that, has boxing chops. And I don't think Katona's washed or anything like that. It was just the perfect shot. His timing is absolutely nasty. I like Bekzat a lot. I'm just thinking, like, is his potential top 15 in a couple of years? I feel like absolutely. He fought Umar Nurmagomedov way too early. His debut is against a now, number one contender, really. Went tit for tat with Marab. I mean, that's a debut fight, and you go distance and have a big moment early. And he's, now developing more so. That was well over a year ago. I think Bekzat Almakhan is a problem at 135 pounds, okay? Like the hopes maybe of the Basharat brothers now amplify those with an ability to wrestle too and like some serious power. That's the level that I think Bekzat can get to. Like right now, Gene Matsumoto had a lot of hype going into the Rob Font fight. I feel like Matsumoto is a victim to a guy like Bekzat Almakhan's power. I think he'd lay waste to him. I think even when you look at the hype that Peyton Talbot had with his striking skills, I think Bekzat would be levels above that. Listen, Bekzat Almakhan is a terrifying prospect, man. Like, if you go prospect versus prospect fight, you have him fight Raul Rosas. I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think Raul should take that fight. I think Raul would get fucked up. It's hard to matchmake for him because his skill set seems towards the top 20, but he doesn't have the UFC experience, right? Like, look at another guy who's newer in his UFC run, Siri City. 2-1 in the UFC, riding a 2-fight win streak, just coming off the W recently against Cameron Smotherman, who's powerful. Imagine Bekzat versus him. Who are you favoring? You're favoring Bekzat all day. Bekzat seems ready for veterans. It's like, he made his debut against Umar. The ceiling is through the roof, and I would like to see him fight somebody that's decent. I mean, it's not going to happen, but like a badass fight would be him versus like Bernardo Sopai. And I think he'd probably beat a Bernardo Sopai, who I think is really good. It just makes you think, holy fuck, with the bantamweight division. Like Sopai has a loss in the UFC, and we're still talking about him as a prospect. Bantamweight is stacked, and I like Bekzat Almakhan. And I do think there's a chance that he gets, a bit of a legit step up pretty quick out the gate because of that debut against Umar. But you could pump the brakes is what I'm saying and take your time and give him a prospect. But I think his skill set is more towards the veteran savviness, and I think he's taking this game far. So shout out Bekzat. You can tell I'm excited about him. Good fight and perfect prediction too. Daniel Santos versus Ji Young Lee. You know what? All this shit I was talking to Willie Cat, I'll give him a man's apology. Willie Cat, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Willie Cat. You got me, bro. I believe that Willie Cat was lazy, undisciplined, taking this fight maybe just because he needed a check. He's got so many canceled fights. And then what does he do? He weighs in with the fucking gut. Willie Cat showed up to this fight with some body fat on him. He was definitely not shredded up like you'd expect a former bantamweight moving up to featherweight, or just in general a UFC fighter that isn't like a bloated heavyweight. he looked kind of pudgy. You know, he had like that Fluffy Hernandez build from middleweight, like in shape, but like at 145, you don't really see that much. But damn, he looked good against Ji Young Lee, mixing in wrestling, landing good shots on the feet. Every area that he showed was clean. He was caliber in all aspects of the game. Daniel Willie Cat Santos is very talented. I still believe there's an issue with his diet, which is why you got a guy that should be fighting at 135 with no doubt fighting at 145 pounds. But he handled Ji Young Lee. Beat him in striking, beat him in grappling, put it on him, made him uncomfortable, did his thing. Ji Young Lee looked terrible. I thought Ji Young Lee was going to win this fight. I was confident. I was going to call him the dog lock. Thank God I didn't. Actually, still either way, it would have been an L. But regardless, it is what it is. We get, you know, analysis pre-fight beside, like, look at it post-fight. Holy shit. Willie Cat's talented dude. Ji Young Lee, I mean, kind of keeps on proving the point, man. The road to UFC winners just don't find a lot of success. I'm sure somebody's going to prove us wrong, but it's been, you know, Contender Series, Ultimate Fighter, and then road to UFC winners way down below. Shout out to Willie Cat, but I do think he needs to get back at 35 because he's going to be outmatched in size at 45. Definitely he's got the speed to keep up with the bigger dudes, but there's eventually going to be somebody that he's not going to be able to back up and take down, you know, and hit with shots that make him real uncomfortable. Somebody with a good defensive ability, with a stronger chin, who isn't willing to sit in the pocket and brawl. He'll have trouble with somebody with good length. So I think Willie Cat's best bet with the talent that he has, because he has a lot of talent, he needs to get to 135 and take this shit serious. That's it. Let's see if he does. Let's keep moving. Marc-Andre Barriault, Bruno Silva. This was a terrifying knockout. Like the elbows that Barriault landed, it looked like you were thinking Bruno Silva's skull is getting caved in. Marc-Andre Barriault looked terrifying in this fight. This was the performance he needed because his career was falling apart. He loses this fight, it's wraps, yo. 3 in a row, knockout, and then 4 in a row overall. He would have been done. It would have been a retirement or UFC releases him. Bruno Silva's probably on his way out of the UFC, but you got to feel bad for Bruno because he got devastatingly chinned in round 1. And now, besides getting, you know, violently knocked out to a point that there was concerns about his health post-fight, he also is now getting his walking papers from the UFC. I'm like, yo, if I'm, I don't know. This is the issue. If I was Dana White, I might be too sympathetic. I'm like, yo, shoot this guy 100,000. Like this, just give him. He's retired. Bruno, here's 100 grand just to go with your retirement. We'll give you a full fucking fight purse and then some, because you know what, you took a lot of fucking damage there, and you know we want you to not worry about trying to chase fights elsewhere. If the real mentality was like the security of a fighter's future, if you're a veteran like Bruno Silva, even though he's fallen off bad and lost five straight fights, at one point he was a promising prospect. He had a good fight against Alex Pereira. There's been good moments. I mean, he knocked out Brad Tavares. You fucking say he's 100 grand. He's 100 grand. Here's some money. Here's a good amount of cash. Like, don't go fight anymore. Just invest this smart in Brazil and like coach people, you know? But they're not going to do that. But hey, anyways, all right, back to the point. I'm going off on side tangents about fighter health and whatnot. I think that Marc-Andre Barriault looked terrifying in this fight. You could tell from the scales. He came in the best shape we've seen him in, really, like high caliber physique. I've never seen him really look better. Not that he hasn't looked as good, but this is like the best he's looked for sure. If it's not the best he's ever looked, period, he ties the best of how he's looked. Dude was absolutely dialed in and took the shit super serious. Bruno Silva misses weight by a pound, looked a little pudgy. He didn't want to be there. I think he should retire from MMA. I do. I really think Bruno should retire. I don't think he should go the Bigfoot Silva route. Remember Antonio Bigfoot Silva getting knocked out left, right, all around in all different places around the world, just taking fights, losing multiple fights in a row, double digit? I don't think Bruno needs that. So hopefully, I don't know. The UFC ain't gonna, but you know, I'd be nicer. Whatever. Let's keep moving on. Navajo Stirling, Ivan Erslan. So this fight right here, Navajo Stirling looked good, but it took him some time to figure Erslan's range out. In round 3, nearly got Erslan out of there, and he had a fantastic third and final round, landing thunderous shots on the feet, big combinations. But early in the fight, it was competitive. Erslan had moments. Erslan landed decent punches. He was landing a lot of right hands early. Navajo looked a little uncomfortable in the first round. Second round, he started finding his footing a bit more and picking his shots better and like mixing in some grappling attempts too, which is a good idea because Erslan seemed to think he'd have the advantage wrestling up Navajo Sterling. Navajo Sterling looked dangerous late, but I definitely think developing guy. Erslan's a vet. He's 14-4. He hasn't really, done well at the highest level. Like all of his big fights, like the KSW title fights or the UFC debut against Cutelaba, he's lost. But like he's a decent skill. He's not really a contender on the come up or one to watch. But I think Navajo Sterling is one to watch. How far does he take it? At the young age of what? 27 years old right now? He's mad young. I got to make sure I'm right. Navajo Sterling is 27. At 205, 27, super young, man. That's super young. But you just beat Ivan Erslan, who might have been 0-1 in the UFC, but went the distance with Cutelaba. It's a step up in opposition, I'd assume. But how far up can they really throw him? Because ahead of him, like, could he do okay with like a Rodolfo Bellato? I'm worried he gets taken down against a guy at that level. Does he do well against a Modestas Bukauskas? Maybe. Maybe he could compete with Modestas, who also won on this card, but I don't love it. And then you jump him up from there, like, is he ready for the Dustin Jacobys of the world? I don't think so. It's a tricky position to be in, man. The UFC light heavyweight division is interesting to matchmake for a prospect. Brenison Hibero is fighting against Azamat Mirzakev on short notice. To be honest, I could say Navajo Sterling and him would kind of make sense. Billy Elikana, but he's on one in the UFC, so you're giving him another kind of layup fight, even though it's not really a layup because Billy Elikana is a tough motherfucker. It is kind of a lighter touch matchup. Hard to matchmake for Navajo Sterling, but 2 wins in the UFC and a blossoming skill set. Just very young and not as in his like athletic prime yet, especially at the heavier weight classes. Still, nice performance, and I predicted a decision, so good to see him get it done. I'm glad he won. Modestas Bukauskas, Iwan Cutelaba. Now, with this fight here, I know a lot of you guys felt strongly. I saw it in the live chat. Some people say, yo, robbery. I disagreed with that narrative, and I'll tell you why in a second. But I understand looking at Sal Diamato's scorecard, you're like, round 2 was clearly Cutelaba's. Round 3 was definitely Bukauskas. It comes down to round 1, but Sal Diamato scored round 1 for Cutelaba, which I completely disagreed with. I thought Bukauskas had won the first round, Cutelaba had won the second, and then round number 3 was definitely Bukauskas. I was surprised to see a 30-27 also on the side of Cutelaba and on the side of Bukauskas. The scorecards had me like, what the hell is happening tonight? But I do feel like the right guy got the job done. I understand that Cormier said, oh, this is the Montreal screw job. I saw better headshots from Bukauskas throughout the fight. Like you look at total strikes, 121-52. It didn't look like that. You look at seeing 58-40. It didn't look like that. Cutelaba on the numbers was way ahead, but watching it, it looked a lot more competitive than that. It didn't look like he was way ahead. He was hitting Cutelaba with some shots. Bukauskas was throwing good straight punches. He had moments where he landed. Not saying he had the clearest of day wins, but 30-27 Cutelaba and then acting like it's an egregious robbery. I just disagree with that. I think that it was a decision that could have gone either way. And I thought that Bukauskas on my scorecard had done just enough. Like I said, though, I don't know. Do you matchmake him up with Navajo Sterling? They were talking on the commentary, oh, the winner of this fight might be fighting towards the rankings. And I'm like, shit, though. Bukauskas, I like Bukauskas. But who in the rankings do I favor him against? Ming Yang Zhang? He probably gets knocked out. Bogdan Gushkov? He probably gets touched up with some quick shots. Johnny Walker probably gets knocked out, but it's a dope fight for Johnny Walker to take a little step down in comp. You see where I'm getting at here? Like he just pretty much broke into like Tapology rank is not official, but at 19 on Tapology is Iwan Cutelaba. They about to have to give him somebody ranked, man. That's kind of crazy. I mean, it could be the Umar Sy, Alonzo Menafield winner, maybe. Maybe that could be a stretch though. There's Ming Yang Zhang, but he's coming off a bigger win. I feel like Ming Yang Zhang and Johnny Walker, UFC, just book that fight, please. Like now that it's available, when Walker's ready to come back, book that fight. I don't have an exact opponent for either, but I'm kind of just, thinking about the division. And I'm like, yeah, for Bukauskas, this is like a pretty high caliber win against somebody that's unranked. So it probably pushes you to the top 15. It's just, I guess I don't really favor Bukauskas against some of these top 15 guys. Like Alonzo Menafield, okay, he's got a fighting chance there, but I could see Menafield cracking him. Bogdan Gushkov, like I said, Ming Yang Zhang, then there's Azaman Mirzakev, Johnny Walker, Nikita Krylov. I think Modestas Bukauskas is like at 15 or like just out of it. We'll see though. We'll see. This fight, it was cool that it came to fruition because after their last fights, I thought they should link up and fight one another. And I picked Bukauskas and he pulled through on a close decision. So good shit. Jasudavicius up next. I mean, this was easy. Jasudavicius takedown submission. She dominated Jessica Andrade on the mat. Jasudavicius is a beast. Jasudavicius is as terrifying as it gets as far as the, Canadian pressure grapplers go. Her submission game looked incredible. First round sub, 2 minutes, 40 seconds is crazy. Just take down, beat Andrade up a bit with some pepper and shots, eventually work towards the back position, and then you lock her into one. I was super impressed by Jasudavicius here. She looked great. Andrade definitely looks like she should be at 115. She's just being lazy with the weight cuts because she looked pudgy. For Jasudavicius, though, I mean, she spoke, I want a top contender fight. It's hard to say she gets a top contender fight next. But she's definitely in a direction positive, forthcoming. Looking at this women's strawweight division, or rather, women's flyweight division, obviously Natália Silva beat Alexa Grasso on this card. I think she's the top contender now. Jessica Andrade was ranked around number 7. I mean, Jasudavicius could be in a spot where she maybe fights, depending on the holdup at the higher level, an Erin Blanchfield-Macy Barber winner. She maybe fights, I don't know, somebody like a Thug Rose. We shall see. We shall see. We shall see. We will find out shortly. Slowly but surely we'll find out. What am I looking for? Got a drink? Got no drink, man. I got a drink right here. I need a sip of something, chat. Cheers. Cheers to the people. Jasudavicius look good. I don't know if she's getting past these top girls, though. Like, I'm trying to picture her versus Blanchfield. That's a hard fight for her. I like that matchup, though. We'll see. Jasudavicius, definitely, say stay ready. Because there is that fight with Blanchfield and Barber. And if there's anything that happens, like, you could potentially get a replacement call up. For Andrade, just get back down to 115. Like, I think Jessica Andrade 115 is better. Fight against Lupi Godinez. Boom. Easy matchmaking for her. Let's keep running. Next fight on the card. Mike Malott gave Charles Radtke a proper Canadian ass whooping. And he went savage mode Canada on all these hoes. Holy shit. Mike Malott looked a lot quicker and more versatile with his skill set than Radtke in round 1. He was just sharper. He had more attacks, and he was stinging Radtke with good counter shots. It's like Radtke would like overthrow and kind of leave himself open in the pocket. And then round 2, I mean, more of the same, but quick, bang, big shot, done. Down goes Radtke. Mike Malott was able to time shots, and like Radtke was out of position throwing his hooks as Malott is throwing the counter hook, and Radtke just dropped, man. It was done. And then Malott with a few ground and pound shots, and Radtke's just looking up at the lights. He was playing that Colby Covington style shtick where he was real brash. And in Canada, they were yelling, fuck Radtke and shit like that. That was pretty funny. And Mike Malott gave him a proper ass whooping. Now, to business on this fight. Yes, it was the Savage Dog Lock, and I took a fat loss. Savage loss. Savage Dog loss. Loss, bro. Holy shit. I preferred it being a flatline KO than a fucking controversial decision or something super close. Like, I was like, you know what? The Savage Dog got ended. He went to the fucking, You know what I'm saying? The kennel, bro, whatever, the dog pound, and they euthanized this savage dog, and he wasn't so savage. Mike Malott was sharp in this fight, and I feel like he looked real good. I mean, keeping his spot as the Canadian star alive. The win over Radtke, does it give him like another attempt at top 15? That's two straight. I feel like it doesn't, though. I feel like he still need one more. And beating Radtke, it's like he beat a guy that potentially was close to top 15. But there's some killers. I mean, I kind of like the idea of like Mike Malott versus somebody like a Muslim Salikov, but I don't know if the UFC is going to go for that with the aging Salikov. Even though I think that's a cool matchup. But could you imagine like Mike Malott versus Chidi and Jakawani? That could be a pretty fucking hard fight for him. I'm looking at all the options. D-Rod. Mike Malott, D-Rod actually might be the fight to make because he has a chance against D-Rod. I like Mike Malott versus D-Rod. Battle of Unranks. Mike Malott, D-Rod. Maybe a little bit later this year. Seems like a proper step up in comp with D-Rod getting the win. Was that last weekend? I like that fight. But Mike Malott's hands look sharp. He looked like he had a wide array of tools. Kicks, elbows, knees, punches. Like, I don't know. He just seemed to have more weapons. More weapons than Radtke, who just was boxing pretty much. So shout out Mike Malott with a proper ass whooping that he put on Charles Radtke. And holy hell, man. It was impressive. It was violent. It was badass, and it deserves respect. Next fight. Let's talk the main card. If you guys haven't, make sure you all smash the likes. And if you're new, subscribe. Benoit Saint-Denis versus Kyle Prepolec. And I'll sip to this. BSD second round. Arm triangle choke. Gets the W over Prepolec. I need another sip, man. It's 2:40 in the morning. I think that, his striking is still flawed, though. He don't move his head. Benoit Saint-Denis does not move his damn head. It doesn't move. But Prepolec, landed a couple punches. Not anything of major note. I know the commentators like, oh, Prepolec caught him. Like, yeah, he punched him, but like he didn't do much with the punch. Benoit Saint-Denis was on point with the grappling, controlled the whole first round with his grappling. Then round two, he brought some violence out. And he threw some heavy shots. And he was in the face of Prepolec, backing him up and making it a nasty fight, making it more of a dog fight, was going for knees in the clinch, like trying to turn it into a war. Eventually, he gets Prepolec down quick off catching a kick, and then arm triangle locked in. Bing. Fight over. Quick. Now, like a perfect world, yeah, we rebook the Alvarez fight. But I'm hearing Alvarez is going up to 170. But I've been hearing that for I don't know how long. So we'll see if that holds true. If he does go up to 170, I have like a thought process with Benoit Saint-Denis. If the UFC gives any fucks about Michael Chandler, you give him a fight against BSD. BSD and Michael Chandler is a good matchup. And it's a crazy ass fight. Like, why would they not do Benoit Saint-Denis versus Michael Chandler? It seems like now is the time. Of course, Chandler needs a little bit of a layoff. But like, they don't want to do Chandler versus Grant Dawson. At least give Chandler a guy who's going to sit in the pocket, go to war. And arguably, like, could Chandler not land a big bomb? Odds are BSD probably has more steam and outworks Michael Chandler and beats him. But I'd like the matchup, man. But Benoit Saint-Denis will struggle with certain guys. Like even Grant Dawson, I think, gives him some problems. Obviously, guys like Gamrot, Paddy Pimblett. We'll see what happens with Gamrot and Ludovic Klein. That's a really cool fight. Dan Hooker, that's a hard fight for BSD. I like BSD Chandler. I don't think he deserves. I know he mentioned the names like Gaethje, Hooker, those guys, but I don't think that's quite what he deserves after, a good win against Prepolec, but not like a wow win. It was a guy that was a complete, unranked. He's 0-2 in the UFC. Hadn't fought in the UFC in years. He's way out of the rankings. I like the Michael Chandler fight. And I think BSD could get caught. It's just Chandler's like so old now for fighting. He's been out of his prime for a while. I think BSD could end up outworking him. Yeah, I like that matchup. BSD's still so hittable. Prepolec, respect to him. You got to give him another fight. I don't know who. Somebody down the ranks. Somebody way down the rank, to be honest. Like, if Tony Ferguson was still around, we'd give him the dream fight. We give him the chance of a lifetime. You get to fight Tony Ferguson. But no, Tony Ferguson's outside of the UFC and probably never fighting again. But somebody way out of the top, even 50, man. Like, it'd have to be somebody that's kind of Vucenic. Maybe like Kyle Prepolec versus Vucenic. That's the fight. Boom. Prepolec, Vucenic next. That's the one. Easy. Easy matchmaking. Top of the dome. I didn't even need to look for him. Let's keep running up. Natália Silva looked excellent against Alexa Grasso. She looked clean, crisp, precise, quick. I mean, she looked amazing. Dominated majority of the fight. Threw really good punch combinations in close range. Looked really fast. Lateral movement was crazy. Grasso had a really hard time cutting the cage off and actually like letting effective punches fly. Yeah, Natália Silva put on a fucking clinic. Times though, I will say when she gets in the pocket, she be slapping her shots. Like she'll hit with the fucking fist like this if need be. She is ripping wild ones. And she busted Grasso up a bit too. Grasso just couldn't track her down, couldn't take her down, couldn't deal with the speed, couldn't deal with the footwork, couldn't deal with the combinations. Grasso would try to brawl a bit, and Natália Silva would land cleaner and more shots. It was definitely a performance that put Natália Silva on the map for a title shot. And I would say beating, the former champion and, #1 ranked girl in Alexa Grasso. Yeah, Natália Silva for the belt next. But I will say, I think that there's a possibility that the UFC wants to go down that super fight route with Weili Zhang and Valentina, and it's really not a bad idea to do it now instead of giving Natália Silva, a nasty contender on the come up, the shot. Like if they did those two fighting against one another, and then the winner of that potentially versus Natália Silva for the belt, that would maybe make a bit more sense. But it's not that this doesn't make sense with Natália Silva, but I feel as though Weili's been a dominant champ. Shevchenko, obviously now back on top, and she was a dominant champ for a long time. It seems like a now or never type of fight. So it's up to the UFC if they want to actually go through with a women's super fight like that. But they definitely could. It would be high stakes, and I think a lot of people would love to watch it. Now, you'd say to yourself, okay, well, if Valentina fights Weili, it's not like Natália Silva wants to wait around. I'm not saying she will want to wait around. So there could be a possibility of her fighting the Macy Barber versus Erin Blanchfield winner. I think that's a potential outcome. I don't think that's far-fetched at all. It's either that or a title fight. So it depends on what the UFC wants to do with the strawweight champ. If they want to do a super fight, then maybe that's what happens. I like Natália Silva's game, though. I mean, you got to say, very hard to track down, super quick, nasty movement, good combination shots in close range, very good kicking skills, seems lightning fast, really good takedown defense and clinch grappling defense too. Super athlete. I mean, she has like everything checked off and has the vibe to be, popular. Obviously, the fans enjoy Natália Silva's style and her looks, which is a big aspect of women's MMA too. Let's be real. She's definitely a problem. And I can see her with the belt around her waist at some point. Alexa Grasso, she's still amongst the elite. Good fights for her. It's just Natália Silva's way too fast. Like on the feet, Natália Silva's hard to track down. She's lightning speed. In a 5-round fight, it'd be interesting though for Natália if she could keep that speed up for all 5. We'll find out if she fights for the belt. Let's keep running. Next fight on the card. Actually, with Natália Silva, now I want to double think this. The Arujau fight was 3 rounds or 5? Fuck, I'm forgetting. Well, I'm drawing a blank here. Watch that fight. Yeah, it was 3. It was 3. I don't know why I'm thinking it was 5. She hasn't been past round 3 in the UFC. Huh. Interesting. Interesting. Definitely a high-paced style. That's really what I'm getting at. Let's keep running up. Featured fight was José Aldo, Aiemann, Zahabi. Another one that, based upon the scorecards and the masses, was a bit on the controversial side. Now, round number 1, José Aldo looked really great for like 80% of the round. Zahabi was landing some shots a little later in the round, but early, Aldo was walking Zahabi down, landing hard shots, riddled him with big punches, looking lightning speed, and like Zahabi was getting stung up. José Aldo was looking prime in round 1. Then towards the end of the round in close boxing range and towards the cage, like Zahabi had moments with his pressure, but still I thought Aldo won the first. Round 2 was super competitive. It was a tactical round. I feel like Zahabi landed like one harder shot in a close round 2, but Aldo was still definitely effective in the second round. He seemed to be slowing down a bit more come round number 2, and Zahabi was making him a bit more uncomfortable, backing him up a bit. And I thought landed a little bit cleaner, just barely. Competitive, but maybe just tad bit cleaner. But you could argue the other side and you can go back and rewatch and like try to see the nitty gritty of it. But I haven't done that yet. It's 2:49 in the morning and I want to go off first watch to break it down. My initial instinct is what the judge's instinct is. They don't get to go rewatch it. So I scored round 2 then for Zahabi. So I was thinking 1-1 going into round 3. Jose Aldo looks amazing at the start. Has Zahabi badly hurt with punches, lands a terrifying high kick, and like Zahabi falls back, but still Zahabi's not quitting on himself. Zahabi's made out of steel. Zahabi's hurt back on the feet, trying to fire back. Aldo rocks him, drops him, backs him up some more, lands another one of those kicks that are like damn near soccer kicks. If Zahabi's hands are on the ground a little longer, I mean, shit, Jose Aldo's getting DQ'd with those damn soccer kicks. And Zahabi looks gone. Aldo blitzes him, throws everything, sprinting across the cage at him. Can't put him away. And then Zahabi recovers after getting badly dropped multiple times. Then he recovered. And then things start going awry. And then things start changing. Zahabi's landing shots on the feet. Aldo's looking a bit fatigued. Aldo looks kind of flat after his blitz and crazy barrage. Aldo throws a kick, slips to the ground. Zahabi gets on top. And Zahabi delivers nasty elbows, big ground and pound. And he landed punches on the feet too, to be fair, that like had Aldo respecting his sting after having the big moments. The issue is scoring this fight is Aldo had no gas left at the end, and he's laying on his back, getting elbowed in the face, laying in a pool of his own blood. Normally, that round, if not for those terrifying elbows that sliced Jose Aldo up, even if Zahabi finishes on top landing punches, but not doing legit visible damage, right? And Aldo not looking as dead on the ground, you would think Aldo had done enough. The issue lies upon the end, how it finished. Aldo looked disheartened at the end. It seemed like he had nothing left in the tank. And if you would have had that fight continue for 2 more minutes or even, allowed Aldo to get back up to the feet, he might be completely gassed. He might not have another round in him. It didn't look like he did. If the fight was to continue, you'd probably favor Zahabi. And Zahabi finishing so dominant at the end of the fight, it's like so hard to score that type of matchup. Because yes, Jose Aldo striking-wise did more damage, but on the ground, Aiemann Zahabi did more damage and did a lot of visible damage to Jose Aldo as well. So I see why the scorecards went towards Zahabi. I don't think it was this crazy robbery, but it comes down more so to the second round. Even though all those best moments were in round 3, so were Zahabi's. Close fight. I don't think it was a robbery. I think it was one of those that could have went either way. If they would have scored it for Aldo, I wouldn't have been shocked. I wouldn't think it's crazy. I think Jose looked pretty good in the fight. Now, Zahabi cut down to 136.8. Aldo did not finish the weight cut, and then they moved the fight up to the featherweight division. So kind of like good karma for Zahabi stepping in, taking this fight in a super suboptimal circumstance. For Jose Aldo, I mean, 145 is his home. He actually looked a lot better. He had way more power, looked sharper even. Like at 145, he looked good. Zahabi just was a savage in this fight. Issue is, though, Jose Aldo retires after. He ain't doing it again. He said he's done. And I don't know, maybe he'll sit on it and think more because he did look good. But then I think, yeah, but it was against a 35er at featherweight. If you actually get him down to featherweight, he could end up getting hurt. And if you have him fighting these big dudes at 45, I think he could potentially not have the ability to recover or take shots like he once did, especially after fighting at 135 for a while. Calling it a retirement in Canada where he started his UFC career kind of seems perfect. It was cool watching the walkout because I remember I had like a flashback to when I watched Jose Aldo's UFC debut years ago in Canada, I believe against Mark Hominick too, and watching that walkout and then seeing how old Aldo looked in this walkout. I'm like, yeah, the retirement made sense post-fight is what I'm getting at. Now for Zahabi, you have to reward him for this win. Absolutely badass war. The fight was amazing. The fight was incredible. They both should be getting 50K, but obviously going to be hard to top fight of the night from the damn main event, but I'd be giving these guys 50K on both sides because that was a fight of the night. Zahabi calls out Cheeto. Cheeto's fighting Mario Batista. Zahabi fights the winner. I think Zahabi with the win against Aldo, especially in the fashion of like entertainment value you got to reward him in some way for taking this fight in the literal worst circumstance possible and still going out there and doing extremely well. Whether you think he won or not, you have to give him credit for putting up a very competitive fight with Jose Aldo, with Aldo having like the massive advantage in the, not having to cut majority of the weight, where Zahabi was pretty much on weight. At the end, I thought Zahabi had done just enough. I'm not surprised by the decision. I don't agree with the robbery narrative. I know I'm going to get disagreed with in the comments. If you scored it for Jose, I want you to give me the round by round and why. Don't tell me, well, Jose won. Well, tell me why. Same as I'm telling you why I think Zahabi won. I want to hear that from some people down below. So let me know in the comments. Let's keep moving up. Let's keep on moving up. Co-main event. Manon Fiorot versus Valentina Shevchenko. Very competitive fight. Very tactical fight. And extremely high-level women's MMA. Round by round scoring on my card. First round, Valentina. She was able to wrestle up, man, and bust her nose up, land big shots. She looked great. Round two, Fiorot brought some thunder. I thought that Fiorot looked a lot better come round number two. Round three, competitive. I think Fiorot may be able to do just enough, but you could argue that Valentina maybe landed bigger shots on the feet. So not necessarily shocked about, if you did score round three for the side of Valentina. Round number four, I thought that Valentina definitely did enough to win, right? She dropped Manon Fiorot, had her looking really uncomfortable. So round 1 and 4 are locks for Valentina. I think round 3 was kind of a toss-up round. And then round 5, I thought Manon Fiorot had won. Manon Fiorot was backing Valentina up in round number 5. She landed better combinations in the clinch late, even though it was like she physically looked worse than Valentina did. When you actually look at shots landed, Fiorot was more accurate towards the end and won the final exchanges of the fight, even though she looked visibly more fatigued. The visual is a big factor, but from actual effective damage, I felt like I said, all right, round 5 is Fiorot. I'm thinking she's getting it on the scorecards. I'm thinking she's getting a competitive ass decision. 48-47. Not surprised it went the other way. Like I thought to myself, they didn't do the split screen. I'm like, they know. Valentina's got this fight. They gave it to her. And I don't think it was a robbery or anything like that. Could have went either way. I don't think it's an egregious scorecard to give the fight to Valentina Shevchenko. But I do think Manon Fiorot put up a really good fight and gave Valentina a lot of trouble in this matchup. Had her backed up, had her uncomfortable, had her wrestling looking less effective. Her get-up game was on point. Manon Fiorot, you got to respect the performance. I mean, gave Valentina a legit-ass run for her money and arguably could have won the fight on some scorecards. But Valentina, the winner, is better for the game. Because like I said, there's the super fight looming of the Wei Li fight. There's a matchup against Natália Silva, who's the hottest up-and-comer in the game right now, as far as the women's divisions go. For Manon Fiorot, though, I have a matchup. Like, just book it right away. Alexa Grasso, Manon Fiorot, 5 rounds. Boom. Easy. I really like that fight. I would like to see that fight because Manon Fiorot was close to getting Valentina, and she looked a lot better than Grasso did last time out, and I think that makes sense. Fiorot's still amongst the elite. And so is Grasso, even after losing to Natália Silva. I think Fiorot and Grasso is a fantastic fight that definitely should be made. But the UFC could decide against it and do Grasso versus Rose Namajunas, which is a cool matchup of girls who have just like never crossed paths, but been around for a long time in both, the strawweight and flyweight division now. Even though I think the Fiorot fight's bigger on paper, I get why the Namajunas fight's a possibility. The issue is, though, for Shevchenko, what is the UFC going to do? If you're talking about division, it's Natália Silva, no-brainer. But if you're talking about, hey, there's a badass fight to be made, high-stakes matchup, a chance to take out the pound-for-pound number 2, with Shevchenko being number 1, that could further push the Shevchenko GOAT status, too, if she beats a damn Wei Li Zhang. Going out there and beating Natália Silva would be super impressive. She takes out a dangerous prospect. But like legacy-wise, beating Wei Li, that adds a different essence to it. A dominant champ from the weight below. And then on the opposite side, same thing. Wei Li beat Valentina. Oh my God. She might become the GOAT of women's MMA after that. We'll see. We shall see. But I do think Valentina looked pretty good. Fiorot was winning the clinch battles, but Valentina did look more dangerous on the feet, even though Fiorot was landing a good amount of shots. Like Valentina looked more scary, right? The impact of her strikes was more substantial. And I do think that is why she ended up winning the fight. Let's keep on moving up. Let's talk about the main event. If you guys haven't yet and you're enjoying, make sure you hit that like button. If you're new, subscribe. Jack Della Maddalena versus Belal Muhammad. Now, I don't know why there's no stats in my face from ESPN MMA Fight Center, but I'm not ESPN, so it is what it is. I don't need them. Jack Della becomes the champ. He looks so sharp with his boxing combinations against Belal. He was like almost always out of the way from Belal's significant shots. The wrestling defense was insane. Only taken down like once, twice throughout the whole fight. Twice, I think, throughout the whole fight, if I'm not mistaken. I don't have the stats, but I think twice. Was able to face Belal in the clinch and like win the positional battle a lot on the defensive and even back Belal up and have him off balance at some point. And in the striking, he was looking sharp as a blade. Round number 1, I thought Jack Della looked clearly faster, sharper, and more precise than Belal Muhammad. And I thought it was a close round, but I really felt like Jack Della had done just enough to take that round. I scored the first round for Jack Della. Little bit of cleaner shots on the feet. The straight punch with more thud on it, I'll say, as opposed to Belal shots. Round 2, same type of thing. I believe Jack Della landed that nasty straight that like knocked the snot out of Belal's nose in round number 2. It might have been round 3, but I think it was round 2. And I thought in round 2, I'm like, Jack Della's landing big shots. He's got Belal uncomfortable. When he hits, it's just with more impact than Belal, who's bringing good flurries. Competitive throughout round 3. Could have went either way. Could have went either way in round number 3. Round number 4, a little bit more Belal. Belal taking Jack Della down a bit there, backing him up, making him uncomfortable. But still, Jack Della is like landing better shots on the retreat. People are going to say I'm crazy if I said it was 5-0 Jack Della, but I don't think that's egregious. It's not like Belal did that much to win round 4. Like, yeah, he took him down a bit, but he was also losing the striking exchanges for the most part. And even if they were similar in strike numbers, the bigger shots were Jack Della's. So I thought, okay, Jack Della, at worst, it's 3-1 most likely, because I thought he won the third. Cleaner punches landed, done a little more. I thought he's ahead. I'm thinking, okay, at worst 3-1, maybe even 4-0. But I'm seeing people in the live chat saying 2-2. So you have to go in with the mentality of who knows when really the judges' scorecards are read with competitive rounds. Well, in round 5, Jack Della won the motherfucking belt. Belal was not backing down from a fight in round 5. He was trying to get in Jack Della's face and like make it a match. Like he was not trying to risk, cruise into a win just by slipping and sliding, hoping he got 3 rounds out of the 5 already. I think he knew he was behind, but Jack Della was just sharper. Jack Della was nastier. Belal does land the takedown and gets on top of Jack Della, and it's like, yo, Belal might secure the win. Like he may end up taking the fight if it's actually 2-2 in round 5. Jack Della's escape was incredible. Was able to get Belal off of him, get back up to his feet, land big shots on the feet. He had Belal rocked with multi-shot combinations. Even landed the knee up the center at one point on Belal. Had Belal buckling a bit, his face busted open, but he wasn't backing down. Belal's still bringing thunder. He's even got, some clinch strikes against the cage on Jack Della. This guy got his ear leaking blood, or at least around his ear. Could have been from Belal's cut, to be fair. Belal gets sliced open in round number 5 with a nice elbow from Jack Della. More big shots landing. Like Jack Della is just not stopping with these incredible bursts of multi-shot combinations. And he's winning the key exchanges, landing the bigger punches, and beating Belal Muhammad, stopping his wrestling attack, and even taking down, gets back up to his feet. I thought it was amazing. Jack Della definitely won at the end. There was no doubt in my mind. But okay, 49-46. If it was 50-45, I wouldn't have called you crazy, but 49-46 for sure. Might call myself crazy. Jack Della becomes the champion, showing that you can stop the Belal Muhammad pressure onslaught. You have to be ready for 5 hard, though. Because Belal's still throwing shots in the clinch. He's getting cracked, and he's still throwing shots back and landed shots. He had some good jabs in the fight, good straight shots, but it was just heavier punches from Jack Della. Cleaner punches from Jack Della. More impactful shots from Jack Della. And the visible damage, round 5, holy shit. Belal was busted open. Jack Della Maddalena is a maestro as far as striking goes. Stance switches and stringing his shots together better than any welterweight on the planet right now. I think so. The boxing game is insane. The kicking skills are terrifying. The grappling defense is off the charts. Jack Della Maddalena as champion is kind of amazing right now for the UFC. Now, matchup to make next. Islam Makhachev said he wants to go up and he wants to challenge the welterweight champion. He had mentioned it beforehand leading into this fight, and now the reality is, let's do it. The reality for me is let's do it. I think Belal Muhammad more than likely does, come back and, could beat somebody. But to climb. I'm thinking to myself, how far away is he? Jack Della Maddalena versus Islam Makhachev seems like perfection, though. It does. It does. Islam dual champ status. Now, of course, there's a disappointment on not getting Makhachev Topuria. I get it, but this JDM fight is huge, and Islam salivating at the bit for a chance to go for dual champ status. And obviously, he didn't want to fight Belal. They trained together and whatnot. They're brothers. Jack Della Islam is super interesting, and even Jack Della after said, I'm looking to avenge Volk. There's a storyline there. Up in weight, how much more dangerous is Islam? I would say Islam's a sharper kickboxer than Belal and better with his submission threats, which could give Jack Della a lot of trouble because I think jiu-jitsu-wise, Islam's better than Belal. Striking-wise, I'd say that there's more accuracy with Islam. How's he going to look at 170 with a bigger frame? Things could get super interesting between Jack Della and Islam Makhachev, and that's a fight I absolutely love the idea of. But I do get the disappointment. Not seeing Topuria versus Islam stinks, but how much time does Islam have left? He says, I want dual champ status. Topuria was the featherweight champ, but Islam beat the last featherweight champ and the current champ, Volk. Like, I get why it wouldn't happen next. I get why he wants to shoot for something else, and I think the dual champ status could be awesome. Imagine a world where this works out. Islam goes up, dethrones Jack Della, becomes a two-weight champ, and then says to Ilia Topuria, who wins the interim title against Charles Oliveira, says, let's do it. Cuts back down and then fights Topuria. I feel like the matchup is even bigger then. It's like the true battle for the number one pound. I mean, it already is number one pound for pound fight, but even more so. It's like a GOAT status battle. I mean, if Topuria beats Islam, he's in the fucking conversation amongst the greatest of all time. It could be bigger, but I get it. There's a lot of hoops to jump to. What if Jack Della just chins Islam Makhachev, knocks him out? Then does Islam go back down, fight Topuria, and then Topuria knocks him out too, and it's over? Could go sideways. I don't think Topuria loses to Oliveira, to be honest with you. The interim title is not something that he wants. He's spoken about wanting to fight for the actual belt. Like, that's what both Oliveira and him would want. I mean, obviously, we want to see Topuria fight for the belt, but if it's an interim title and an Oliveira fight, is it really all that bad? Because that's still a fucking amazing matchup, and it like cements that 155-pound legacy for Topuria, and he gets an interim title in the in-between. Is it the end of the world? I don't know. It's up to the UFC and Dana White. Dana White, I guess, wasn't at the post-fight press conference. I don't know if he's just fully planning on exiting the UFC and doing just boxing, because I feel like he's been more distant from the fans lately, at least with the post-fight stuff. Maybe I'm delusional, but I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you agree. But for Jack Della, an Islam fight's amazing. If a Shavkat fight's available, that's amazing. A Sean Brady fight's amazing. There's a lot of great options. Obviously, Ian Gary's going to be trying to get the fight. I like that matchup, Jack Della and Ian Gary. And it's not like they like each other much. That would definitely sell heavy. Shavkat being injured, who knows? The UFC finagles sometimes. Yo, Ian Gary, you're getting the shot. Sean Brady has to fight someone else. I wouldn't be shocked by it. But definitely Sean Brady beating Leon Edwards is probably, the most deserving guy outside of Shavkat. Shavkat, I guess, really, is Shavkat as deserving as Sean Brady? Not really. Sean Brady's probably the most deserving contender after beating Leon, especially in the fashion that he did. The problem is, though, he did get fucked up by Belal. Shavkat undefeated right now. I feel like Shavkat, Jack Della's a badass fight. Ian Gary, there's that fight. But yeah, it seems like Islam's the one. And with Shavkat being injured, it's kind of the perfect time to make it happen. And hopefully not too far out. Now, for Belal, gets sent down a bit. I think easy matchmaking, though. Loser between Joaquin Buckley and Usman. Granted, Usman could maybe not want to fight for an extended period of time. There's a possibility that that doesn't take place. And then maybe Belal's fighting a Joaquin Buckley coming off of a win. That's a possibility. Joaquin Buckley versus Belal is a matchup that I like, regardless of the outcome of the Usman fight. But if Usman does win, settling the beef between Belal and Usman seems fucking perfecto. I need to see that fight at some point. And, whether it's going to happen in the cage or in another podcast studio, I don't know. But I prefer to see it in the cage. Belal got handled, but he deserves respect. Like, we have to remember the name now. Belal went to war with Jack Della. He got busted up bad. He didn't crumble. He didn't fall. Big shots landed, and he was in that fight the entire time. I respect Belal Muhammad. And you got to give him some love. He's not a boring fighter. Bad reputation with the fans, but put on a back-and-forth war with Jack Della. And when push came to shove, Belal Muhammad was willing to sit in the pocket exchange big shots, and go to war against the most terrifying and slick boxer in the 170-pound weight class right now. So respect to Belal going out there and putting on like that, even in loss. And to Jack Della, shit, man. Him versus Islam seems fantastic. And then Topuria Oliveira International Fight Week. I don't think anybody's complaining. We'll see what the UFC decides. If you're Topuria, you're pissed, though. You're like, I just vacated my fucking belt, and now I don't have one, and I'm fighting for the interim, or I'm fighting for no belt? Dana White, good luck to you. Now, I do want to go over my predictions for the card. We'll start from the bottom down, all right? And then work our way up. Looking at the first fight of the night, money call, confident pick, Beksat Almakhan. Second fight, loss. Thought Ji Lee would handle Santos. He did not. Win with Barriault over Silva. Nice call there. Win with Navajo over Erslan. Win with Bukauskas over Cutelaba. Win with Jasudavicius over Andrade. And then a loss, of course, with Radtke going savage dog mode against Mike Malott. He got badly chinned. Oh, my God. Badly chinned. 5-2, I believe, across the prelims. Let me just double check. Yeah, 5-2 on the prelims. And then main card starts off with a money call. Benoit Saint-Denis, of course, handling business, getting the finish. Perfect call with Natália Silva, which was a confident call. And then, you know, things are looking up. Aldo looking fantastic. Loses a close decision. I thought Aldo would handle it, but it is what it is. And I'm not sitting here screaming robbery just to justify myself. I see why Zahabi got it. But on the bright side, if you were, you know, on the side of parlays for some of these fights, Almakhan BSD safe play -127. The safe parlay cashes a little bit riskier, but still relatively safe. Silva BSD, all those Zahabis over 2.5 at +100 hit. Silva and Almakhan at +125 hit. Almakhan BSD and all those Zahabi over also hit at +129. So the safe parlays came through, but the more D-Gen savage stuff that had some of the underdogs in it that didn't hit, didn't happen. But hey, still called the Bukauskas dog, which I was happy about. I was happy the over came through here, and Silva looked as good as she did. Moving on up, of course, the pick was Fiorot by decision. She loses a close one, but I thought it was super coin flippy at the end. I know a lot of people disagree with that, but I thought it could have gone either way. I don't think it was a washout for Shev. And I think Fiorot pick still made a lot of sense. And then having Belal by decision, obviously got handled by Jack Della, but you know the fan side of me was hype. I told you guys all week, you know, I kind of hope I'm wrong here. I feel like Belal looked more human in this fight than his last one, but maybe it's just looking back in hindsight. There were still moments for Leon. But the wrestling of Belal just didn't look as good, but I think it's because Jack Della's grappling defense is fucking sick. So it took a loss in the main event. So overall, the record on the main card was shit. 2-3, 3-fight losing streak to finish. Now I bring the Thunder for the next card. 7-5 overall on the card. It was looking so smooth on the way up. And then is what it is. Is what it is. We bounce back better every single week, you guys know. And I love this game, man. I love the fight game. Whatever happens, happens. But I'm always trying to bring the highest caliber of analysis. And I'm glad that still, you know, if you're on the betting side, some of the safest stuff still came through with the confident calls. I hope you guys enjoyed the recap show. Make sure you hit the likes. If you're new, subscribe it up. Thank you guys for tuning in. The Fight Companion was badass. We hit 47,700 subs on the show. So shout out to you guys for that. I'm pretty excited, man. Closing in on 48K. I love you all. W's in the comments if you got nothing to say. And I'll see you all in the next one. And for the full card predictions too later on today. It's 3:13 a.m. I need to get some sleep. All right. Good night, my people. Peace out.